Alright guys, welcome back to this channel. I'm finally getting around to doing the videos on the type support EZAs, and we're starting off with probably the best one out of the bunch. Kind of weird to say considering they all pretty much have carbon copies of their passive. The only thing that changes is of course the type they support, the class whether they're super extreme, and their SA effects. Those are pretty much the only differences. But I think Cabba out of the bunch is the best just because his SA effect is really good. He goes on a good variety of teams. He even goes on the new Saiyan Day Jeets' 200% lead, the Super Saiyan Trios lead. Unfortunately, I don't have either of them. And he's also a great addition to Universe 6, and so is Hit, to be fair, when you combine these two units together and kind of work their supports off of each other and to help actually trigger each other's guard. But one common theme you're going to see with all of these type support EZAs is I don't have any dupes in them. I think there's one where I have one dupe, and that is literally it. And they are all basically not at level 10 links, so we're pretty much seeing what they can do at the bare minimum at their EZAs. We actually start off a very good rotation. We do have one unit actually benefiting from Cabba's support, but we do have the Universe 6 rotation going on, so we do have like a decent link up. He's starting with 121k attack stat, 74k defense. I did kind of make a mixture of a Universe 6 team and also God Goku's 200% lead, just so I could get Cabba on the 200% lead and also actually trigger his guard, because you do need 3 or more strength type allies on the team to trigger his guard that he gets for 4 turns from entry turn, which doesn't actually include himself. It doesn't say excluding him in brackets, but it doesn't include himself. You need 3 separate units that are all strength types to trigger his guard, which is the EZA Super Vegeta, LR Future Gohan, and also the EZA Base Kale. All very good units, by the way. So we do have his guard active, so I'm going to slide him into the middle. His starting stats obviously aren't going to look too good, just because literally the majority of his attack and defense is coming from orbs. He does get 50% attack and defense per key sphere obtained, and we are getting 8. So that's 400% attack and defense. We didn't get any strength key spheres there, so we are missing out on the additional attack and defense plus 20% he does get, and 10% crit chance per strength key sphere obtained. That's a lot of attack and defense to get from orbs. Can you imagine if you get a ton of strength key spheres? Like, you're getting the 50% attack and defense per key sphere anyway, and then you're getting the extra 20% per strength. And then if they're all strength, he's getting a ton of stats from picking up orbs alone, and then that 10% crit chance is nice, especially because I don't have dupes in him, but it's just nice to have anyway. 3.4 mil, I mean, kind of expected to be a little bit on the low side, just because number one, we didn't get strength key spheres. But there we go, there's his guard being active, but we didn't get strength key spheres, but also he does raise his attack and defense by 50% for 9 turns, so he will mini stack. Maybe not for Fusions and Masu currently on global, would that work out too well, but then he will have guard to kind of, well, they all have guard to kind of cover them against the AoEs. But in Cabba's case, because he kind of mini stacks, as I said, for 9 turns, you know, where was I going with this? I don't know, I've just lost my train of thought. You know, because he kind of mini stacks for 9 turns, you know, you won't be able to probably fully utilize that or get that maxed out against Fusions Zamasu because he is on the short side. But all of these type support EZAs have guard for 4 turns, as long as, of course, you have the right number of type units that they support to trigger it, which is going to help out a massive bunch against Zamasu's AoEs. And then in Cabba's case, he'll have type advantage against the final phase where you've actually built him up somewhat and then eventually lost his guard. But don't forget as well, for content purposes, Cabba and all of the rest of these type support EZAs are going to be on main rotation, so we can see what they can do. These units are literally built to be slot 3 units, so half the time they're going to be in and out of rotations anyway, because they're going to be floating in slot 3 while having guard for 4 turns. So I said it works out really well for Fusions and Zamasu, and of course the support's great because it's just so much that can help you do some extra damage. But against like a Shadow Dragon and Mega, the 9th anniversary content when it drops on global, it's on the longer side, so getting that full 50% for 9 turns completed off of Cabba's SA effect probably wouldn't be too difficult. And of course the important thing with him being a slot 3 type support unit, he's given strength types key plus 3, attack and defense plus 10%, and then the additional attack and defense plus 50% for super strength types. Now obviously you're actually going to have to put strength types on the team and kind of fill them out. but I don't think that's going to be too difficult to do. Now, hopefully Goku doesn't do too much damage here with type advantage, but I did want to get Cabba some strength key spheres, and we are getting him 3, so that's 7 key spheres, which is 350%, then the additional 20% for 3 strength key spheres, which means we're getting 350, we're getting 140 for the strength key spheres, and we're also getting 30% crit chance because of the 3 key spheres as well, along with the fact we've super attacked once and have 8 more turns of raising his attack by 50%. 943k attacks at 397k defense. I should have shown what his attack and defense was the previous turn when we collected the orbs, but I forgot to. So he actually has a long way to go in terms of like mini building him up. And along with, as long as you can get him a decent amount of orbs, which to me is currently looking, if you can get him like 7-8 key spheres, which is kind of normal nowadays, especially with orb changes and just the amount of them that can go on some of these teams, I think Cabba's going to be very fun, and especially because this is also within his 4-turn guard. If this was like a serious run in difficult content, he's doing this while he's on 4 turns of guard. So this is also, I mean, as I said, they all have pretty much carbon copies of passives. But as I said, Cabba does have some very nice variety. As I said, Universe 6 because of their recent EZAs, along with him and now Hit, it makes the team, as I said, I mean, they already were before the EZAs dropped, but it makes them viable, makes them even stronger. You know, EZA Kefla gets to utilize the support, and she's already doing insane damage as it is. Gives us some extra defense as well. Makes it easier to trigger Cabba's guard on that kind of team, because if you don't have Hit, you can't actually trigger it, because there aren't actually any like top tier, many viable strength units outside Cabba himself, Hit himself, the base KO EZA and EZA Kefla. So she'll utilize it. Base K will also be able to utilize it, and she's very good as well. Really solid EZA. And then just in general, it's just a very good team. It is just a very strong, viable, competitive team now. Like, we tested it out once and it was very good. I might have to test it out again now that these 2 EZAs have dropped after I've covered their videos. But he's also a good addition on there. As I said, he also goes on the Saiyan Jitsu's team. Very strong team. Yes, he may not be able to utilize the support, but just in general, he's a solid unit, and any strength units you bring can pick up that support. You know, he also goes on Pure Saiyans, Super Saiyans. You know, he also goes on tournament participants and any strength units on his team. Even if you don't pack out the team with full strength units, even if you only bring enough for guard, even if you don't bring enough to activate his guard, even though you obviously want to, do you know what I mean? But there are enough units that can just not only trigger his guard, which you want, but even only a handful, just picking up on that massive support is huge. Is huge because of how good it actually is. But I said the versatility is what makes him so good, because all the categories he can go on. There's some top tier units in the game on that. And then also he's a superclass unit. So, you know, outside of... Ooh. Actually, that's something I want to test. I'm going to let Jeet use his active skill while having Cabba's support. And I want to see how much damage he's going to do. I'm going to save all of these orbs for Cabba. The one thing I'm noticing right now is you may get very unlucky with if you're getting specifically strength type key spheres. So you may miss out here and there on the additional 20% in crit chance. But in general, just picking up orbs actually isn't too difficult. And also, Cabba's super attack twice, and we have like double the defense and up to 276k attack before we've picked up orbs. So 10 key spheres here, no strength key spheres. But after picking them up, we're up to 1.6 million attack stack, 614k defense. And we still have, what, 7 turns of him mini stacking? 6-7 turns? Okay, good. Jeets has still got his guard, so he should be okay. Yeah. 23 mil. 23 mil. To be fair, Jeets hasn't been hit nearly enough. Actually, no, I think this is the second time he's supering, so he's only just getting the boost, but that could actually be higher, just like that. 27.8 mil, and that's coming from Cabba's support. That's how good it is. But as I was saying, he's also a superclass unit, so naturally he's going to be in a much, much better spot than, you know, say Hit. You know, extreme strength it's not been touched in years. Not to mention extreme units. You know, they always get shown less love anyway. So that's why the extreme supports are always going to be a little bit mudded. But as I said, Cabba just has the range just because he's a superclass unit. He's a Saiyan. He's also a Super Saiyan. Like, it gives him massive advantages over some of the other units. But to finish out his passive, he also randomly changes keys for certain type 2 strength key spheres. I think of the couple turns he's been around, we've been a little bit unlucky to not get a ton of strength key spheres. But for the most part, getting him a ton of key spheres to get that 50% per key sphere obtained, because most of the time we've got 7, 8, 10. We've never struggled for picking up the key spheres to get him all of that attack and defense. It's just right now we've been quite unfortunate with the orb changing and getting the extra 20%. So maybe that might pop up here and there, which kind of happens with orb changing units. But I don't think it's going to be a problem with Cabba for the most part. Hopefully next time we'll get a ton of strength key spheres and like proper like nuke with them. Which, by the way, that's also something he can do, don't forget. He will also, once only, change all key spheres to strength key spheres when HP is 50% or less if there are another 2 or more superclass allies on a team, which is going to be very easy to do with Cabba because literally all the teams you run him on, you're going to be running him with superclass units, let alone 2 or more. So it's very easy to trigger that for him. And as I said, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be running him with a team full of superclass units anyway, let alone 2. We've actually got a ton of strength key spheres right now. I did pop Luis just to be safe, just so we could actually like see Cabba put up some numbers. But with a ton of strength key spheres, and also, again, he didn't actually get super attack the last time we saw him. 1.5 million attack stat, 567k defense. And again, he's actually missed a turn of mini stacking his attack and defense up on his SA effect. But as I said, all of these type supports, all of their EZAs are very good. Like I said, their passes are pretty much carbon copies of each other, just related to the types that they support, and also whether they are superclass or extreme class units. It's just Cabba does have that variety of teams he can go on. Also, how strong his teams are, up to 5 mil already, by the way. It would have been more if he got to super attack before. So actually, once he gets going a little bit, Cabba can actually do some solid damage, considering what he's intended for. Like, the reason you're bringing Cabba is for him to support. So for the fact he can actually do some solid damage with the built-in crit chance, don't forget, depending on how many strength key spheres you pick up, and also if you have dupes. By the way, if you summoned on these banners, taking advantage of the discounts, whether you need dupes, whether you actually need to pick up your first copies and you're missing a few, or you just need the majority of them, I generally don't blame you. I was very much tempted to summon myself, but because I summoned a little bit on Jeets when he dropped for Saiyan Day, I decided not to. If I didn't summon for Jeets on Saiyan Day, I would have actually taken advantage of all of the discounts. So if your stone count is sitting pretty right now, but if it's sitting healthy right now and, you know, you took advantage of those discounts, generally I would have probably advised you to do it anyway. Like I would have said, I would have done the same thing. Like, they are very good EZAs. They appeared years ago. There's probably quite a few of you that are missing these units just because they appeared years ago on their type banners. But, I mean, Cabba didn't even get to stack too much. So, by the time you've actually stacked, you know, 6, 7, let alone full-blown 9 turns deep, he's actually doing some fairly solid damage. Again, especially with that built-in crit chance, depending on how many strength key spheres you pick up. It's never an issue to get him orbs just because he is his own orb changer. I think the only thing we got quite unlucky with to show him off was how many strength key spheres we're getting him. But in terms of actual how many key spheres we got him, I think the lowest we got was 7, which I think is more than enough, especially while his guard is active. You're looking at 10, 12s. He's very good. And as I said, just because he has a little bit more versatility compared to the other units, being a Saiyan, superclass unit, you know, Universe 6 has had a massive buff because of all these recent EZAs. Cabba's in a very good spot, and that SA effect is very strong, especially being at 50%. But solid damage, from what I've seen before of him, because I've seen a few clips of Cabba, and again, if we got like a decent amount of super attacks deep while getting him the orbs, his defense, even at 55%, don't forget, I don't have dupes in him, like, just to remind you, no dupes in him. His defense will be in a solid spot. Like, I think if you can get him the orbs once he's super attacked enough times, he's tanking right now on global, I think, every enemy in the game's normals, and maybe coming close to super attacks. Like, I generally want to try him against Fusions and Marsu, even though these are type support units. They are built for slot 3. Like, I'm like, let's put Cabba on main rotation. Let's see him cook. But he is definitely the best one. You can let me know your thoughts down in the comments of who you think the best one is out of all these type supports. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care, have a good rest of your day, and post.